Sawadee krap, everyone. This is the second video blog, and this Thai dish is going to be very simple, but it takes a little bit of preparation. It's called Moo Manao, which means lime pork, and the ingredients are quite simply garlic, Fikino, which are small Thai chilies. You can see the size of them here in my hand. That's one right there. And of course I'll cut this part off. And I like to chop them very fine as well, because if you have big pieces then you get a lot of spiciness in one bite, and the flavor is more evenly distributed if you cut them fine, which Thais typically don't do. So I like to cut the garlic fine and use a technique where I sort of just slide over it after I've sliced it. And then we have mint leaves, and I will use this whole bunch. I might actually use even a second bunch for these leaves. And then we have limes, for which the dish is named. So in this case today I'm going to use at least 6 limes. And then we have a little bit of fish sauce to taste. And basically the way to prepare this dish is to chop the chilies, chop the garlic, cut and squeeze the lime, and I might make a video of when Thais like to, at least the Thais I know, garlic is easy, so you just squish it, cut off the end, and if you squish it first then all the peel comes off very easily, as you can see. So that's already peeled right there. And then after that you can slice it any way you like. Like so. And after that I'll basically run the knife over it. And I'm not going to do all of this right now, just sort of demonstrating the technique, cutting it that way. With the chilies, you cut off the butt end right here, and then you cut them, I like to cut them up first as well, and then after you've cut them into smaller pieces, again, you just run the knife over them. For the lime, you sort of see where the center is. You hop out a little bit, and the way that several of my Thai friends do it, I don't know if this is universal in Thailand, is you sort of cut down one, and then you cut down, leaving sort of a square centerpiece, like this. And then you can squeeze the 4 pieces, which will have no pits, or maybe like this one piece here has a small portion of a pit left, so off with that. And then you squeeze them into any kind of container. And what you can do when you make this dish is that you squeeze the lemon or the lime, you chop the garlic, you chop the chilies, you chop the mint leaves. Obviously I'll take them off the stem first, and then I'll just cut them fine. They don't have to be that fine. I think it's more important that the chilies and the garlic are cut very fine. And when you have the centerpiece, you need to be very careful that, because that's where all the pits are. So what I like to do with the centerpiece is I just sort of squeeze it through my fingers and let the juice filter down without any seeds in it. And after you've done those 6, you can actually put the chilies in there, you can put the garlic in there. And the meat is pork. Today I'll be using pork loin. You cut it fairly fine, and although I normally hate boiling meat, it's one of those things. I like it grilled, I like it baked, I like it fried or pan fried, but I'm not really a big fan of boiled meat. But for this dish, boil it. So cut it into really thin strips, and then just very quickly get them into the boiling water and out again, because if you leave them in too long they're going to get sort of hard and dry and boring. So very quickly do that. Take the meat out, put it in a bowl, and then just pour the lime and garlic and chilies and lime leaves over it, and a little bit of fish sauce to taste, and it's done. You have it with rice, So it's super easy once you get going. It just takes a little bit of knife work, basically a little bit of preparation. See you on the other side. All right, so I've peeled all the garlic, and I've pre-chopped it a little bit, diced it, and basically the technique to just very quickly cut is just to allow your knife to go through it this way, and you can switch directions. And if you do that a few times, you scoop it together, you go again until you're happy that they're small enough for you, all right? And what this will do is it'll help you get an even flavor on the dish once it's done. There we go. And here. And if you have, for garlic, a bigger piece, it doesn't really matter that much. I think it's more important with the chilies to keep the pieces nice and small. But here is a nicely sized garlic, in my opinion. And on to the Fikino. And hey presto, finished fast. So this one I actually didn't pre-slice them. I just did this right off the bat and did it a few times. And the other way. And then I get this, it almost looks like a mash, but it's not mash, it's just finely cut. And I'll pop those up there with the garlic. Like so. And there we have a Fikino and chopped garlic, both of them chopped. And next is going to be the mint leaves, and then the lemon juice. And then we'll have everything until we're ready to, I'm going to boil rice. I only have one heater in this apartment. So all of these things that I do are like minimum work, right? It's like I can't really use a proper kitchen. So basically I'm going to boil the rice first. And that takes about 20 minutes in a regular pot. And then after that, I'll just boil some water in with the meat very quickly, out with it, put it in, put the sauce over, and you're ready to go with dinner. So here we are, the limes are prepped. I'm going to squeeze them into the same thing I did the first one. If you get a pit by accident, I wouldn't really worry too much about it. You can spit it out or you can swallow it, you won't really notice. But I try to sort all the pits out, just because if you actually notice the taste, it's not that good. I wouldn't try to switch any other citrus for the lime. Sometimes when you're baking, for instance, you know, you can use lemon rind, you can probably use lime rind or orange rind or something else, but when you want this juice and the Thai taste, you really want to have real lime and probably not lemon. So I will proceed to squeeze these. And hey presto, here we go with the lime juice, and this looks like about a deciliter or so. Obviously if you want more lime, to taste, right? But basically I'm going to do this with about 300-400 grams of pork meat, and then 6 cloves of garlic, 6 limes. The little chilies, I really don't know, but a handful. And again, if you're very sensitive to spicy tastes, take less. And the mint, I think it's very important to say that when you do the mint, many vegetables, you sort of, the top stems are okay, but with these kinds of leafy vegetables or leafy herbs, I actually do like to remove the leaves per se, just and take the entire stem out so you don't get any of that in there at all. And the lime leaves finally, I've already redone a little bit. These aren't so easy just to roll over unless you have a very sharp knife. So actually, when you begin, just cut them in one direction and then slide them all together and cut them the other direction. So you can go like this and like so. and you'll get a nice bunch of leaves. They don't have to be that small, maybe if you can see how big this is, something along those lines. And of course, if you want to garnish and plate it nicely, then later maybe you'll save a piece of lime, nicely cut, and maybe a few full mint leaves for decoration. Also with mint, be careful. In Thailand they use a lot of pesticides, so unless you have grown it on your balcony or somewhere else where you know it's free, maybe even then because of the air quality in Bangkok if you're here. But rinse them off in water first. You might do the same with the chilies as well. Always remember, I mean, we want to have clean food, don't we? So that's it. This is all the prep. So now I have my minced garlic, I have my finely cut chilies, I have the lime juice, I have the fish sauce, I have the mint leaves, and all I need to do now is make the rice and then finely cut the pork, and depending on your taste you can have different kinds of pork. I'm probably going to have a pork loin today, so fairly lean meat, not a pork tenderloin. It's something about boiling the meat. You want it to sort of come apart with like fork types. Don't use knives when they eat. So everything should sort of be bite-sized, and everything should be possible to sort of break with a fork. So you cut thin strips and make sure the fibers of the meat go sort of crosswise. And that's all for the prep. So hello again, everyone. This is the piece of meat that I have. It's pork, and I weighed it. It's 470, or actually I checked the the price tag. The fibers go this way, and so I'll cut it this way in slices, and then after that I'll slice it this way. Try out a new knife, it's always interesting. Let's see, I'll make them probably about 1 centimeter, roughly, something like this, should be good. And I'm not polishing this meat. Polishing is when you take off the tendons and the fat. There's just a very thin layer on this, and I really don't think that it'll affect in any way the eating experience for this dish. If I have pork loin, or if I have tenderloin of, if I have tenderloin of pork, or if I have beef tenderloin, then yes, I will do that. But for now, just cut this into centimeter slices roughly. There we go. Actually turning out nice and even, which is good. It's almost like slicing a loaf of bread if you have a sharp knife. And of course, when you slice, let the knife do the work. You don't have to force it very much, just let it slide through there. There we go. So when we take one of these slices, then start off with the last one, might as well. Basically, I'm going to cut it along the grain, making a longer one today, because it's perfectly up to you, of course, what you like to do. And I'll make this lengthwise thinner. So here I will just go a few millimeters, maybe 2 millimeters. So if we look at this one, you'll see that compared to my finger, it's maybe yeah, it's about 2 millimeters. So roughly like that, and that means that when you put it in the boiling water, it will finish very, very, very quickly, and it won't get all dry and hard as meat tends to get if you boil it too much. And of course, again, like I said, I usually prefer to prepare meat in other ways, but for this dish, this is how you do it. One thing I want to point out is that you'll notice that I'm not using the same carving board. This is a plastic carving board, and especially if you're using chicken, be careful. I mean, these things are easier to clean and make sure everything comes out of them. So that's why I'm using this carving board. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this meat. I'm not going to season it at all. I'll season the water with a little bit of salt before I boil them. And then basically leave it. So I'll cook the rice first, and then at the last minute, pop the meat in, take it out, let it drain, and put it in a dish. Pour all the lime juice and chilies and garlic over it, and then the dish will be done. So I'm actually not cooking those ingredients. I'm only cooking this meat and the rice, and then you'll have your finished dish. There we go. Finishing up. Just watched an episode of Lucifer, so got a song on my mind. But if you can't sing and whistle in the kitchen, where can you sing and whistle? Shababidoo. Let's see. Still trying to keep that uniform thickness. Hopefully no sickness anywhere near food. Just thickness. There we go. There. And the final one. I'll cut this way. And there. And these will be the slices to go with the meal. So next up, boiling the rice, and after that putting in some more water, a little bit of salt, and when it's all done, flavor the meat, serve it up with regular rice, and Bob's your uncle. Time for the rice. So I've put rice in here and water. The water covers the rice by about 1.5 centimeters, and that's almost regardless of the amount of rice you have, maybe 2 centimeters. Boil the water up with the rice and then bring the temperature down quickly. If you have the kind of hot top that doesn't cool off quickly, you might actually add a little bit of cold water, but just basically I would prefer just to move it off the heat, because when you add cold water it's usually not a good thing. And then just let it sit from very low temperature, just simmering for 20 minutes, and the rice will soak up all the water, and then you're done. Alright, so time for the very last step, which is putting in the meat. When you put the meat in, the water will get a lot colder, so sometimes you put in part of it at a time, but I'm going to put in everything at once because it's so thinly sliced, and then just stir it for a few seconds. So here, and it's changing color instantly when it hits the water. What I want, there. Now, to make sure that everything is done all the way through, but not hard. We can literally count the seconds here. I put a little bit of salt in the water. I've also put a little bit of fish sauce, probably about a teaspoon or so, in the mint leaves and garlic and chilies. And also I added 2 more limes, so 8 limes total. There we go, and that's enough for that. Take this. There we go. That's all the pork. Of course, I like to keep cleaning the kitchen as I'm going along, so here's the mix: lime, fish sauce, mint leaves, garlic, and chilies. Voila, man, that smells It smells wonderful. There we go. And then next, the rice. There we go. And it's perfect. It's fried all the way through. And it's not sticking to the bottom. And as I was talking about it before, I'm going to sprinkle a few mint leaves, whole ones on top. There we go. And so, voila, this is the finished product. It's a pork with fresh squeezed lime, garlic, chilies, mint leaves, and a little bit of fish sauce. And it's super easy to make. It just takes some time to do the preparation. And you have it with rice. That'll be all. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you try this recipe at home and that you enjoy it there. Bye everyone.